Welcome to the Riding in the Weeds podcast, where we tackle life's inevitable challenges from navigating mountain bike trails to overcoming business hurdles and forging deeper connections with pets and people. It's easy to find yourself tangled in the weeds, but we're here to help with insights and strategies that'll get you out of the weeds. Our goal is to boost your performance in both sports and everyday life by sharing essential skills that we've learned along the way. Through tales of our entrepreneurship journey, thrilling biking adventures, and fostering meaningful relationships, your hosts, Natasha, Lockey, and Jenny will guide you on a journey that's not only enjoyable, but also inspiring. Join us to gain confidence that you need to confidently navigate the trails of life. This episode is for you. If you ever find yourself thinking, but I've tried everything and it's just not working. We're going to tackle this concept without judgment and talk about the tools and tricks that you can use to move through to the other side of the idea that I've tried everything and it's just not working. To give you the confidence to be like, you know what? Maybe there is something else that I can try to get you the results that you're looking for in your life. Hey, Ginny, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Tosh. How are you?
I'm doing good, thank you. All right, so today I've tried everything.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I call bull. Sorry, not sorry. I call bull on this one. I think every time I've heard this statement, it has come out of someone's mouth in a situation where maybe they've tried some things, but they're avoiding something else when they say it.
Oh, absolutely. My husband is actually the best at calling bull on this one with me. I will be like, I've tried everything and it just won't work. And he's like, you haven't tried anything. He doesn't even give me credit for trying anything. And I'm like, but I've been working so hard. And he's just like, yeah, but you haven't done this, and you haven't done this, and you haven't done this. And he'll sit there and he will give me a list of the things that I legitimately haven't done. It is one of the things that I absolutely love and probably could also say drives me insane about my relationship.
See, I was trying to be nice and give you, collective us, some credit. He's just going to call you on it.
He's just going to call me on it. And it's like having that conscience, right? Because let's be honest, I know I haven't tried everything. I know that there are so many things that I am not doing in so many areas that would give me better results. And if I actually looked at, okay, so I got a whole lot of paths I could go down. And if I went down this one, I would totally get the results. So why am I not going down that one? What's stopping me?
Yeah. I think every time I've heard this statement, either out of my mouth or out of someone else's mouth, I can usually sense, if I'm being honest with myself, if I'm the one saying it, that I am avoiding doing something that feels hard. And that may or may not mean that it's physically hard, but it may be a mental hurdle as much as anything. The statement itself just feels like a cop-out to me. It's like throwing up your hands and giving up instead of trying something, risking it not working, risking failure of that attempt not working. Instead, you just say, well, I've tried everything and nothing works. It just feels like, oh, well, I'm going to give up.
You know, it's interesting because as you're talking, I want to circle back a little bit to last week's episode about support. Right? And we pay these people to give us support in whatever area. I remember reading a book and it was talking about dieting, right? It actually doesn't matter. There are 100 billion different ways, maybe not billion, but there's a lot of ways out there that you can lose weight, that you can diet. There are theories, an abundance of theories. And yet people are still like, I've tried everything, I can't lose weight. And this person was like, you throw them all up on a dartboard, throw a dart at that board, and you do whichever one it says, and you actually do the work exactly as it says to do it, you will get the results. Now, we're not talking about whether it's the right way to do it or what's going to come from that, because there could be detrimental things. But the point being that if you actually follow anything, you will get the results. And I think that's the frustrating thing when we do coaching programs on how to develop a coaching course that you're going to teach to people. One of the key points that my coaches have always said is make sure that you develop a program that is actually going to give people results. So if you're like, I'm going to develop this program and I'm going to sell it for $27 and it's going to give people a taste, and then after that they're going to want to upgrade to my next program, which will actually give them the result. And most coaches will tell you that's a really bad idea. Why is it a bad idea? Because people will try the taster program. They won't get the results because they're not being given enough information. They haven't actually been given all the tools and all the resources to succeed, which means that they then feel like they've failed. And they'll be like, well, I tried that, it didn't work. However, all they did is they tried the first step and it didn't give them enough satisfaction for them to keep going. It actually did the opposite. And it is so easy for a human being to default to, that didn't work for me, versus, oh, okay, there's more to this. I need to dig deeper, right? So it's like you read a book on self-help. You're like, well, I read the book, it didn't give me the results. And that it's so easy for the human being to default to, I did the thing, it didn't work. So if you're going to create a program, you actually need to create a program that is going to give the person a result, and enough of a result that they're like, oh, okay, that little bit of work I did got me to level 1. How do I get to level 10?
Yeah. I think that is really the key when we're talking about this personally, is when you say, I've tried everything and nothing's working, that should set off red flag warnings and alarm bells that you need to ask more questions because something is missing here. And it may legitimately be something that isn't what it appears to be on the surface. So I know a lot of times when I have heard that statement or when I have made that statement, I am resisting doing the thing for some reason. So usually there's an emotional tie-in that's keeping me from being able to take the steps I need to be able to make those changes that I want for whatever the goal is. Diet is an easy one. So if I say I've tried everything around, I want to be more fit and I want to have a better diet. If I say I've tried everything, well, I've never hired a chef. I've never worked with a meal plan system. But what is the emotional resistance I have in there? Do I think it's going to be hard? Do I think it's going to be expensive? Where is the emotional hang up that I'm hitting that's preventing me from taking those steps and looking for more answers? And sometimes, yeah, it can be things like exhaustion or burnout or having too many other things on your plate at one time. And at that point, it's more appropriate to say, you know what, this is too much for me right now, instead of trying to say, I've tried everything and it didn't work. That's just tossing in the towel. And really, that's avoiding the risk of failure at that point, but it's not getting you any closer to the goal that you say you want. So my next question is, if you say, well, I tried everything and it didn't work, did you really want what you said you were trying? Because if you didn't want it bad enough to continue putting in work when things didn't work easily or quickly the first time, then maybe there's something else going on there that your subconscious very likely doesn't want the result that you're trying to go after. And that's when it gets sticky, is when it starts to get down into that subconscious level, because our subconscious won't let us do things even if we verbalize and say we want to do them. If our subconscious doesn't want us to do it for some reason, no amount of trying will get you there. So you won't lose the weight, or you won't be able to get fit, or you won't become a runner. It won't matter. So really finding a way to address those underlying factors, that's where counselors and therapists are really useful, because they're going to be able to help work through those layers to find out what's holding you back from getting to that goal. And this can be anything. This can be diet, nutrition, fitness. This can be working on a sport or yoga or riding horses or riding bikes or money or business or even aspects of that, like public speaking in a business or being on video in a business. I've tried everything and I can't do videos. Well, there are too many resources in this world, so many of which are still free, that there really isn't any excuse. We have muddled our way through putting this podcast together. The amount of learning we've had to go through to be able to do what we do on a mostly weekly basis together. I think if you had asked me when we started this, I didn't know we needed all these skills that we were going to have to learn, which probably a good thing we didn't know that ahead of time, because we might not have done it, but we never stopped, you know? And so clearly it mattered to us to keep going at that point, to keep pushing through and working on whatever blocks came up.
There's so much in there. I'm going to start with like performance, right? And one of the things that you said really twigged for me in that you mentioned running. I said to my husband one day, I'm like, well, it's really hard because the loop that I can do from here is like 20 minutes and I want to go for a 45-minute run. He's like, well, sometimes on this sort of terrain and where we are right now, you might actually just have to run up and down the street 4 or 5 times going the same way. I don't like that. I don't even like coming back the same way as I went. Like, it's got to be a loop. It's just, and that's a common trait for humans, is that when we go out on a trail, most people want to do a loop trail as opposed to an out and back trail. That is truth. I have seen that so many times with people on mountain bikes. It's like, well, I want to do the loop. I don't want to go up and go back down again. And so coming to that, when you were talking about the health journey, there's this thing where you've gone down a path and you've put a lot of time and energy and effort into a certain direction. And now you're at a dead end. And your only option is to either sit down at that dead end and be like, I give up, I quit, I'm not going any further. Or the actual truth might be you might have to go back. And going back, if we're using health as an example here, might be going back to the zero and being like, okay, maybe there are other factors at play. And not even like maybe it's my nutrition, maybe it's my exercise. Maybe you need to go to a nutritionist or a doctor. And for me, it was I needed to go and get my iron levels checked. I didn't have any iron in my body. So I was struggling to get out of bed to go to the gym, and I thought it was a motivation issue. I was physically exhausted. And if I went to the gym 2 days a week, the next week, I physically could only go once a week. And I didn't realize that that was an exhaustion issue. I thought that was a me problem. I thought I was not motivated. So I was trying to solve the motivation problem. And it's the same thing with mountain biking. I have this bike confidence mastery course that I'm launching. For those that are interested, it starts on April 23rd. And what I've really realized is that confidence is the feedback. It's like money. Money is the feedback. Your goal shouldn't be, we're going to do this podcast because we want to make lots of money. If we're doing a really good job and we're putting out a good message and people want to listen to this podcast, we might get advertisers. People might want to come to us for other programs. They might want to work with us for other things. That is feedback that we're doing a good job and the information that we're giving is valuable. Same thing with confidence. Confidence is a feedback of performance. If you're performing well on your mountain bike, with your pets, on your horse, in your business, you are going to start to get stronger. You're going to build up more skills to be better at it. The stronger you are, the more skills that you have, well, then you start to feel confident. We literally were having the conversation that there isn't really, that we know of, I'm going to go looking, but most of the coaches I know that are teaching podcasting, they're teaching you how to get an audience. They're teaching you how to get the right headphones and to be on camera. They're not teaching you how to edit on Descript. They're not teaching you how to understand what the statistics mean. They're not teaching you how to set up your WordPress site and how to make it so that people can link directly to your Apple podcast. they're not teaching you to go out and ask people directly for reviews. They're teaching you the things that are like either the super simple, where do you get your microphone and your headphones from, to the start a Facebook group and get an audience. But there's this huge gap of skills. Last year, I was joking with my staff. I'm like, we could start an agency for people who want to do a school of any sort. You want to run a mountain bike school, you want to run a kayaking school, you want to run any sort of school. I can teach you how to set up a booking system. I'll tell you, it's not easy. I can tell you how to set up your Wix site. The amount of things that I've had to learn that now give me the confidence to be a better business owner comes from having to go backwards and go, okay, this isn't working. Why isn't it working? I might need something else. And I still haven't tried everything, right? I don't know how people can find us. What's an easy way to give people a podcast link? Well, I talked to someone, they said make it your website. So if you go to writingintheweeds.com, you will be able to see most of the places that you can subscribe to our podcast. However, Spotify's not up there. So I need to go back and I need to figure out how to get Spotify up there. New skill, learning something new, but I've got to keep going back. And it's never a set and forget. Life is always a journey, and there are so many resources out there in order for you to perform better.
Yeah, it's so true, because you end up finding new pieces of information that you didn't know you needed to have. And that's normal. That's just how it works. And that's why I feel so strongly about the fact that I've tried everything is a cop-out. And if we're really honest with ourselves, and I think even the times that I've said it, I've known that I was, I don't know whether you want to call that lying to myself or what, but I've known that it wasn't true. I've known that I haven't put in the work and I haven't continued to ask questions. And I think that piece is critical to being able to work through whatever it is that you're working on. Like you said, you were having problems being able to go to the gym and you thought it was your own motivation. Well, you went to the doctor. There was a very reasonable explanation for exactly how you were feeling. You just had to ask the right question. And the question was, do I need to get my health checked out to see if there's something else going on? And I think we often, when we say, I've tried everything, it's usually with an idea of a tunnel vision concept where it's like, okay, well, I've tried all the exercise things, but I haven't gotten my health checked out by a doctor. Or could you explore different food choices or sleep patterns? Or there's a myriad of other things that go into that picture. And so the idea of I've tried everything often centers on one idea. That's not everything. That is so far from everything, it's not funny. And I know some of the solutions that have come to me in various times like this have been 180 from what I was focused on, like your health challenge. Go the other way and try something completely opposite.
Well, when you step out of judgment, because I've tried everything, you are judging yourself because you haven't been able to achieve the result. And if we step back from that judgment and we step back from the I'm a failure, I don't have motivation, I'm not doing the right thing, I should know better, I'm an expert in this.
The right way and the wrong way.
The right way and the wrong way. You know, like I was a 9 in my iron levels. If it dropped any lower, I was getting close to being hospitalized. So that judgment had literally stopped me from checking my health, which was really, really important. The same thing, again, is that sometimes you're not ready. We've been working through this podcast. The most important thing to us has been being regular, getting the podcast out on a weekly basis. And now we've gotten that sorted. It's like, okay, now we have the space to make things a little bit better. We need a new logo. But is that the most important thing right now? I haven't tried everything. But I went into ChatGPT. I tried to get us a new logo. I'm like, you know what, Ginny, right now, it's not a priority. Yes, we need a new logo. But first, We need our website to look good. Sometimes it's a step-by-step process. And if we don't step back from the judgment, we stop ourselves because we think that the road we have to take is too hard. We don't want to go backwards. All of that stuff ends up getting in the way. And there is no judgment. It's just knowing, as you said, catch yourself and be like, okay, well, I probably haven't. Am I ready? Do I need to? Does it really matter if I have an extra 5 pounds on me? Is there something else that's more important right now? Does it matter if I can't get to the top of the trail at the same speed as my girlfriends? Probably not. What's more important is that you have fun when you're out on your bike. Does it matter that you can't roll over those rocks? Probably not. What matters the most is that you come home in one piece and still wanting to go out and ride again and to get better and perform better and get stronger. You can't do that if you're injured and you've tried to do something that you're not ready for because you think it's just a matter of pushing through the fear. Well, the fear is there for a logical reason.
Yeah. And then when we judge the fear, then it only makes things worse. And that's when we end up making bad decisions that can get us hurt.
Yeah. And whether that's on your bike, financially in your business, every level. So the I've tried everything has so many different questions. Instead of I've tried everything, it's not working, you could ask so many different questions. And then once you're asking questions, you can decide, like, okay, well, I've tried everything to get us more listeners on our podcast and it's just not working. Versus, okay, we would like to get more listeners on our podcast. What are the steps that we can take to do this? What information do we know that we can quickly put into action? And where is it that we need to learn more things? And once you start making those lists, then it's easy to start to tick them off. If you ask questions, you get answers. When we just say, I've tried everything and it's not working, I don't know. I will call out my husband on that one too. He says that all the time and it drives me insane. I'm like, yes, you do. Because it's normally followed by him going and doing amazing things. And I'm like, you mean you didn't know? You figured it out really quickly. If he actually didn't do anything after the statement of I don't know, I would be more inclined to actually believe him when he said that. But I've never actually seen him not follow that up with, like, how did you do that? You said you didn't know what you were doing and you far exceeded my expectations of what I would have told you to do, right? So, yeah.
I don't know is also a cop-out.
Yeah.
I can call myself out on that one.
Or I can't do that. Well, I just don't want to.
Yeah.
Which is valid.
It is valid.
Every time you find yourself saying I can't do that, just change it to I don't want to do that. Now you've actually made a statement which you can change.
Yeah.
You know, well, Tash, you haven't tried going for a run every day. Well, I don't want to. Versus, well, I can't. Well, you probably can if you really thought about it. Like, you're perfectly capable of going, but I just don't want to. And then now you're back in choice. Now you're back in charge of the bus. Now you're driving, right? Now you can be like, I don't want to do that. Okay, what are your other options?
Yeah.
You could do yoga. Oh, yoga's hard too. So yoga or running? I'll take running. What are your other options? Well, you could do a 15-minute HIIT workout.
Give me the yoga every day.
Running, HIIT, yoga. Well, I mean, maybe 15 minutes of slow insight. Maybe I could do that. Like now we've got a dialogue going on, and we can start to make the choices. And then you make a choice, and you try it, and you go, actually, no, that isn't fun. Let's throw that one out and try something different. Because again, there are a gazillion different ways to do anything.
Yeah. And probably half of those gazillion will actually work for you if you do the work. There's a lot of different ways to get to the same result. And some of them may not work for you, but many of them probably will if you put the effort in. And I think you really hit the nail on the head there. It's about choice. When you say, I've tried everything, you're abdicating your own ability to make a choice at that point.
Yeah.
That's very disempowering, and it doesn't serve you in the long run. So being able to say, no, wait a minute, I do have choice. I can choose not to do it. Maybe I just don't want to do it. And that is fair. That's totally fair. I don't want to go for a run every day. That sounds terrible. Yep. I'm not even going to have any delusions about that. But what else can I choose? What else can I do that's going to be different? That might get me closer to whatever the goal is that I want to have.
Oh, 100%. It's like my shuttle business. I don't actually really want a shuttle business. So when I have the thought to myself, how could I sell more seats in my shuttle? It's like, well, there's a lot of different ways I could do it, but every single one of them I don't want to, because I don't actually really want to pursue that as a business. What really lights me up is our podcast. What really lights me up is running mountain biking programs and doing retreats. And what I really want to do is help women have more fun on their bikes and in their lives, and put themselves first and be able to find how they can perform better so they can have more confidence. And so anything that is outside of that passion at this point in my life is like, I don't want to.
Yeah.
Like, I haven't tried everything because, quite honestly, I'm not really that interested. So
I think you're hitting on something else there that's important, that sometimes in our lives, it's also important to figure out how to delegate. There are a million services that are available now, some of which are exploitive of the people who do them, but you can pay to have your house cleaned, you can pay to have your food brought to you, you can pay people to run all different aspects of your business. There are a lot of ways to hire out help to accomplish certain things that you may struggle to do, and there is no shame in that. But if you say you've tried everything and you still haven't tested those waters, there's no shame in hiring someone to either be a support person or to take on tasks that will allow you to achieve the goal. I would love to hire a chef so that I don't have to think about the food that I need to eat, because I really want to eat better. But my life right now makes it very challenging for that. It's also not a passion of mine to cook. So that makes it even harder to want to go do that. And with all of the things that I juggle in my life between the horse care and the podcast and the business and everything else, it's difficult to fit in time for it all. And so the first thing that goes is the food. And I won't even try and hide that at this point. But I could hire out someone to do it. So I literally have not tried everything. Right now the budget doesn't allow that, but hey, who knows what'll happen. So
what's interesting though is that as soon as you start asking the questions, during COVID, I was in a state of like, this house is a mess and I've tried everything to keep it clean. I'm like, no, I haven't. Okay, I could hire someone to clean the house. And then my husband says to me, let's get a new truck. I'm like, and I had just started to figure out, because I was like, well, okay, how could I pay someone to clean my house? And I started looking at my budget, and I started looking at different things that I could take. Okay, instead of having this, I could take that money, I could put it over here. And I'd actually eked out the budget for the house cleaner. And then we bought a new truck. And I was like, right, guess I'm going to keep cleaning my house, but I'm going to really enjoy driving my new truck. Because literally the budget that I had created by asking the question of how can I had actually managed to find a way to pay for the house cleaner. And that money all went to paying for the new truck. And I remember looking at it at one point and just laughing, because I was like, you know what, you can actually manifest anything you want. But sometimes something else gets manifested. So you and your partner need to be on the same page, or you need to be willing to be like, okay, I guess I'm cleaning my house because I'm getting a new truck instead. And that's okay too. And there's actually a really good exercise that my coach gave me that is sitting down and writing out a list of things that you want. And then you take one of them and you write 20 answers to the question, how can I hire a chef? The first 5 are pretty easy. The next 15 become quite ridiculous, but what it does is it starts the subconscious thinking outside of the box, which then you step away from the exercise and your brain starts to look at ways that it can actually create that outcome. And that's where manifestation happens, is when you start giving your subconscious something to mull over and a question to answer. And none of that can happen if you start with the I've tried everything. I just have to say, because it's funny, but as you were talking about there's a million ways to do anything. And if you have not read or actually watched the movie A Million Ways to Die in the West, it's hilarious. It's from the creator of... It's Seth MacFarlane. Family Guy. And it's a very short read, but the movie is ridiculous. And it's all along the way the movie, it makes no sense most of the time, but it's all these different ways that you can die in the West. And one of them is getting crushed by an ice truck or a club. By the iceberg delivery. It's 1875. And it's set in 1875. I've got my helper in the background here. And it's a really fun way to be like, there's a million different ways to die in the West. Which one do you want to pick? So
yeah.
There's your watching. If you haven't seen the movie, go and watch it. It's ridiculous. It's your homework from this episode. And yeah, do you have any last thoughts to share on this one, Ginny?
Yeah, I love that exercise that you gave, because I think one of the things that we have to remember is that we are only aware of a tiny fraction of the information that is available at any given time. And when we make statements like, I've tried everything, or I can't, we are locking ourselves into only the information that we have in front of us at that moment. And if we can remember that there is so much more information available out there, just energetically, and even with the technology that's at our fingertips, it will enable us to find answers, like you said, that may be completely out of the box, but that solve the problem or achieve the goal that we're looking for. And when we can get to that place every time we approach challenges in our lives, everything will be so much easier for us.
100%. I hope you, our listeners, enjoy the path that our podcasts go on. We start with ideas, we write down notes, and then I'm always so excited by what actually comes up and how we bounce off each other. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, our listener. And again, I am going to heartfelt thank you. We love you. You are appreciated. You're amazing. Thank you for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode, if you enjoy our podcast, please share it with someone who you think would find value in it. And please leave us a review, especially if you're listening on Apple. But if you're anywhere, please leave us a review. Give us a comment if you've found value. And if you have a topic you'd love us to talk through, give some tips and tools on, please let us know. We would love to help you out. And with that, I am Natasha Lockey. I am a performance mountain bike and life coach. You can find me on Instagram at Betty Gohard, and you can find me on LinkedIn or Facebook at Natasha Lockey. And more importantly, you can find the podcast on Instagram at Riding in the Weeds. We post up little shorts of our episodes every week, so if you just want to get a snippet of the best parts. And also, I've just started our Facebook page, so you can find us on Facebook, Riding in the Weeds, and always on YouTube as well, Riding in the Weeds. So please check out the podcast pages. Oh, and my new website. I'd love to know what you think of it, ridingintheweeds.com, where we have a blog as well. So every week we put out the podcast episode. There's also a blog. And then if you follow me on LinkedIn, you can get the professional side of all of these conversations.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'm Jenny Brandon. I'm an animal communicator and energy healer for animals and their people too. And I help support you with your challenges with your pets And if you are running into behavior problems or emotional issues or going through a challenging time in your life with a lot of stuff going on and your pets are struggling as well, or if you just want to get to know your pet better, then I am happy to help. You can find me on the web at soulpetconnections.com and on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube under the same handle. So, echoing what Tosh said, thank you so much for joining us today. We love having you all here, and we really appreciate your likes, comments, and shares. So, please give us feedback as you can, and we look forward to seeing you next week.
Have a great day.